So that takes us to a question on tax. Hands up, please, if you have no fixed plans to put up income tax in the next Parliament. No fixed plans to put up income tax.
We take the view that now isn't the time to make a further change on income tax.
But that's... Keep your hands up.
Come on.
Hey?
Hands up. Can we not have a proper debate?
Well, we are having a proper debate.
Come on. These are complex issues, Glenn. I mean, it's a bit more complicated than hands up and hands down. Let's talk about it.
OK, well, let's talk about it because we're looking to establish whether or not that is meaningless talk or whether it's a guarantee.
Why don't you ask us how we're going to fund our manifestos?
OK, I tell you what, I get to ask the question and hopefully you'll do the answers. So let's start with you then, because you're very keen to talk on this one. And your manifesto says that it's important that any government has the flexibility to respond to a change in circumstances. So does that mean that taxes could go up in the course of the next Parliament?
I think for the next Parliament, given that we are going to be recovering economically from COVID, tax stability really matters, and therefore we have no plans to increase income tax. I think it's candid to say that any government has to have flexibility if there are unforeseen circumstances.
What unforeseen circumstances?
Well, if they're unforeseen, they're unforeseen. I can't...
But what kind of thing?
Well, if the Tories absolutely slashed their budgets, for example, beyond what we expect them to do. But we reformed the tax system in the last Parliament. We raised more revenue out of it, and given the focus that we need on economic recovery and recovery in household finances as well, because many people have lost their jobs or seen a dip in their income. So that tax stability is really important. But also important is how we fund the manifestos we put forward. Now, we published, as the Scottish Government in January, the medium-term financial strategy. All parties have been able to have regard to that. It had a high, central, low scenario based on the independent forecasts of the Scottish Fiscal Commission, the Office of Budget Responsibility, assumptions about budget growth, and we've geared our manifesto commitments to below the central scenario. So it's affordable, it's reasonable, but coming out of this pandemic...
But the say that balancing the books with no rise in income tax and a pledge to cut business rates is an especially difficult circle to square.
Of course it's difficult, but that's
but you might need to put income tax
on the assumptions, on the assumptions that have been made about the growth in devolved tax revenues and changes in the block grant. Our manifesto commitments can be funded within that central scenario. But the point I was going to make is this: as we come out of this pandemic, it's really important that we invest for the future, that we invest in economic growth, in the transition to net zero, and that we invest also in tackling some of the problems that a light has been shone on. Inequality, child poverty, doing more. That's why I think bold manifestos are needed at this election. And the very last point is that there's not an election that I have fought where organisations, respected organisations like the IFS, haven't said commitments are unaffordable. I lead a government now that has balanced the budget every year we've been in office. So these commitments can be funded, and it's important that they are.